sunny Sunday morning. But we made it. You're here, so thanks for coming. I hope I'm not going to shock you when I tell you the title is not really that good, because it says we will deal with IP theft. Peter will, no doubt about that. All the others won't. So please don't run away now. We're going to talk about IP management, IP strategies in general, and of course we'll deal with IP theft in this context as well. My name is Udo MEYER. I'm a German and European patent lawyer. I'm a chemist, and I have one of these typical German careers, spending more than 20 years in one company. That's all I know. I started in R&D, joined the IP department, and had the IP department for 5 years now. So what I'm going to talk about, whoops, can you go back? Can you, just a moment. It's this one, no? Doesn't work. Doesn't go back forward. Anyway, I'm going to talk about IP management in the manufacturing industry. Why is that? Because I'm in chemistry, but this is also true for automotive industry, for steel industry, for all these, let's say, classical industry, where you have tangible products. For example, in chemistry, just to show you what our company does, you see a lot of products from inorganics, plastics, catalysts, crop protection, oil and gas. These are classical chemical products, and our job is to protect them with IP. Whoops, there we are, as good as possible. Thank you. So, here we are. And you see, we file between 1,000 and 1,300 priority filings per year, which is a lot, which has to be justified internally. I will show you what really changed over time and what we are heading for now. So as I said, it's the classical field. We deal with products, with mixtures of products, of course chemical processes in our industry, and applications of these products in certain industry, because we serve a lot of different sectors of industry. For example, the automotive industry or electronics, computer industry. We do not have any consumer products, but we supply all the industries, so we are really right between the consumer and these companies. And the situation is really different from IT or electronics, because there are almost no standard-related patents in the portfolio. I mean, this is a real hype, and when you hear all the IT companies, this is something where you can make a lot of money with IP. This is not necessarily given in the classical fields. Of course, we give licenses, but in most cases in an opportunistic way. So if there is a chance, yes, we do this. We have some sectors of industry where we really have an open licensing system. Whoever approaches us, in most cases, he will get a license. But for most companies, this is not a real business in itself, which we try to optimize. We really stick to the old idea of the patent being a monopoly. We can use the patent, develop our own business, and hopefully have the products in the end on the market. So there are a lot of changes going on. I'm in the IP business for about 20 years now. When I started, and this is not only true for BASF, many other companies had a very similar setup. The IT group was mainly dealing with the R&D guys. That's where the inventions come from, that's where the new products are developed, and so this is where the IP group should turn to. But over the time, we changed this quite a lot. And today I would say the situation is like this. IP group is much closer to the business unit. This does not mean in the organization that the IP department is part of the business. This doesn't make sense, and that's not too important. But the main focus is on the business. And we also implemented people called IP manager. They are in the business unit, and they know about the technology, the products, the developments going on. So this is our point of focus for our IP attorneys. And we get all the cost-related decisions with the IP manager. So it's a much better link than in the past. We get a closer alignment of the IP function with the business units, and they also decide on the means and the scope of protection. For example, foreign filing is always discussed with the IP manager, no longer with the R&D guys, because the R&D guys in most cases are inventors. When you ask an inventor, is it an important invention? The answer is yes, in all cases. And do you need protection in all countries of the world? Yes, of course. So this doesn't make sense. And the business people here, they are kind of independent and they are responsible for the cost, so you get much better decisions here. This doesn't mean you don't discuss with them, you need them for further inventions, no doubt about that, but they are not really involved in this kind of decision. IP strategy, maybe you've heard the presentation by Ruud Peters from Philips recently. Same concept in the Philips company. You always have or had business strategies for all your products, for all your developments. But what you really need is, based on this, an IP strategy, so that you really know what's going on. If you ask me what is BASF's IP strategy, the answer is there is not one. There are several. There are as many as there are business strategy, and that's quite a lot. So this can be from a very defensive approach, doing almost nothing, maybe discussing whether or not to publish some new ideas, but not going for a broad protection, until, let's say in agrochemicals, do whatever you can to protect your product and get a broad territorial protection for the inventions. And if you do this, if you align business strategy and IP strategy, then it's much easier to talk about budget, about resources, what kind of rights you are heading for, freedom to operate analysis, and so on. So this helps a lot if this is really linked. Who does it? Who works out the IP strategy? This is a joint effort from the business unit and the IP attorneys. So we tell them what can be done in a certain technical field, and they tell us what should be done, and in the end we come up with this kind of strategy. We worked it out over the last years for almost all our business strategy, and we see quite a good effect from this. Next point, R&D cooperation. That's not really a new one. I mean, R&D cooperation is lacking novelty, as you would say. Even in the 19th century, we already cooperated with people from the university. This is, for example, indigo, the dye for the blue jeans. Ammonia was invented with someone from university here as well, but also you see some development here with the company Monsanto over the last years. So cooperations have been there for many, many years, but what really changed is the sheer number. We counted and found out we are close to 2,000 corporations with universities, with customers, with competitors. And about 10 years ago, we were at something like 400. So this is a huge increase, showing that it's no longer possible to develop the right product for the market on your own. You need the input. You need either the technological input from the universities, or you need the input from the companies you're working with, telling what the customer really expects in the near future. This is a typical example where this is about organic electronic material which we develop. This is BASF here. We are responsible for the materials. Then there are companies involved working on the machinery. How can you set up a process for an industrial production of it? And then you have companies like Osram and Philips. They take care of the final design for lighting and the final production and the customer needs. And you have involved, as you see, many, many universities here. It's the University of Munich, it's Dresden, it's Bayreuth, it's Augsburg, and Fraunhofer Institute is in there. So this is a typical setup how complex R&D work, even in our company, is today. And I'm going to focus now on the aspects, what does this mean for IP? Again, the classical approach between a supplier like BASF and a producer, it's simplified, but just to show it, IP protection, supplier was responsible for the product and for the process of the production of the process. This was the main IP portfolio. And the producers, in many cases, they were focusing on the use of the product for a certain application in their field of expertise. Today, you find more and more this approach. You have a joint development, you have a joint development of a product for a certain use, and of course, you have joint IP. So this is really leaving the idea of the monopoly. This is sharing, maybe with one, maybe with more partners, but quite a change compared to what you found years ago. So, as I said, new cooperation models or new business models, they need new and flexible IP sharing model. There is not one-fits-all strategy. You have to be flexible to hear what the partners can do, what they expect, and what the final business model should look like. Our idea is we do not sell chemicals, we sell effects. Sounds good. This is right in itself, but how do you protect an effect? We can protect products, that's not too difficult. But how do you set up your IP to really deal with effects? And as I said, we have to leave the idea of a monopoly. We have to move into the idea of the control of IP. We want to get our share of IP so that we can protect our development over time, but it's no longer a monopoly. And this is a real change in the mindset. Don't underestimate this, because many people in these companies still stick to the old idea. Oh no, it's no longer our own IP. Can we really do this? Can we rely on that? Can we really develop the product further? Do we not run into a lot of legal problems here in the end? So if you do it right, you try to ensure the protection of your own business model. And I hope you already know it when you go into the development, because in many cases, the business model is not yet given. You have a nice product, you have an idea of the application of the product, but you really do not know, are we going to produce it? Is this the final product? Do we need cooperation partners for the production? So the business model develops in many cases only over time. And then it's difficult to foresee this and to have IP at hand, so that you at least try to get your share. So in the ideal world, you create value for the company by protecting your own invention along the value chain. For us as a supplier, this is really important, saying, hey, we try to protect applications and final products already, although we are never going to produce them, so we have to find a solution here based on IP. When I talk about these corporations, the choice of the cooperation partner is crucial. In many cases, development is fast. It takes only a few years, and if you are working with the wrong partner, you don't have the time to find a better one. And you stick to your old partner with all your joint IP. You, in most cases, are no longer able to move away and to choose a new partner for the same application. You have to decide on the patent applications for these joint inventions with your partner. This is time-consuming. And you need more contractual work around the inventions. Time-consuming, again, you have to have the resources to deal with this. And another aspect which is really important, but not too many people discuss it, the transfer of the IP rights right in the beginning, from the inventor to the employer, is always the basis for any IP protection. So in corporations, you should make sure that also your partner is able to transfer the invention to the company or to the university, which sounds simple, but in practice it's not. And this is the very first step. And if this is not done correctly, you can forget about the IP protection further on. So in many, many countries, like Germany in the past, or Austria or France, it is necessary, after you receive the invention report, to do some steps to be active in a certain period of time. And if you don't do this, the invention stays with the inventor and you have to negotiate with him. So in companies, we are used to that in most cases, but when you're dealing with universities or, let's say, unexperienced partners like startups, then you better take care that also your cooperation partner really is able to transfer the IP to the company so that you can deal with it. So what does it mean in a patent department over the years, all these changes? When I joined the department, most of our work was drafting and prosecution, the classical IP work. But this changed dramatically. So we do a lot of outsourcing here because internally we have more and more freedom to operate analysis, a lot of, let's say, consulting in general. How do we set up a cooperation? What should we deal with? Who's the right partner? What is the best agreement? We have a lot of contract work here to be done, and of course M&A projects over the time as well. So the shift we have a shift in the focus of our work. We need more broader skills when we look at the patent attorneys internally, and they need mainly strong background in contracts. So in our training sessions internally, we start with contract work as soon as possible, not in the past, maybe after years or so. No, we really need this expertise, maybe more than drafting and prosecution. I don't know. This is still balanced, but this is what I expect to see how it develops. So coming back to my question on the first slide, is there a paradigm shift in the manufacturing industry? Definitely yes. It has changed a lot, maybe not this dramatically as you can see it in the IT and electronics world, but a lot of changes happen. So in most companies you now find a much closer alignment of the IP function with the business units. That's absolutely necessary. You find IP strategies which are set up based on the business strategies. You not only talk a lot about open innovation, you have a lot of projects running like open innovation. Open does not necessarily mean open to everybody or being without paying money for it, but open in the way you have to share. You take others into your development, and you have to try to adapt your IP strategies to all the new business models coming up. So thanks for your attention, and I'm going, if you like, you can maybe ask a few questions, otherwise we would continue with the next speaker.
Quick question for you.
Yes, please.
Under German law, whether your employee inventions automatically inure to the benefit of the employer, or do you need a...
Fortunately enough, this changed about a year and a half ago. Before that, yes, it was necessary. You had a limited period of time of 4 months to claim the invention as the employer. But now the system changed. If you do nothing, it is deemed to be transfer, which is in practice quite a great step because it avoids a lot of problems over time. Yeah.
Is that statutory or is it?
Yes, it is. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
In your previous slide, please, what does it mean, the drafting and prosecution going down?
This is the workload of the attorneys internally. When in the past they were working, let's say 70% in drafting a prosecution, today it's maybe only 30 or 20%, depending on the responsibilities they have.
Outsourced to the outside.
Yeah, quite a lot of that. Because, this outsourcing here is possible. With these things, it's really difficult. Also contract work. I mean, of course, a lot of law firms, people are able to set up contracts, no doubt about that. But is it an efficient process? Not in most cases, I think, because you need all the internal information, and this is really difficult to gather. And if you have it, you can write the contract immediately, instead of transferring all this information to an outside lawyer, and he sets up the agreement then. And the second point is acceptance, I would say, because people internally are a little reluctant. Can we really open up? Can we discuss with attorneys? We have seen this in outsourcing our inventions as well, but it's even more difficult in contract work, I think.